For the latest mini-election trip, I'm off to South Thanet to speak to Nigel Farage. Ukip's leader is currently locked in a battle to become the party's third Member of Parliament, but is the seat still looking winnable? How does he feel Ukip's general election campaign is going? And what might Farage do next if he fails to win on May the 7th?
So Nigel Farage, the polls show that the South Thanet race is going to be a very tight one. Do you have any regrets about standing here?
None.
None whatsoever?
No, don't forget, I stood here in 2005. I've worked with this branch since 1999 to try and build it up. We've got local councillors, county councillors, and we've really gone somewhere with this branch, a big membership. And no, I was committed to doing it.
And do you regret at all saying that you would stand down as UKIP leader if you didn't win? Because this is the make or break moment for you now.
Certainly not.
So you're just adding to the level of anticipation there.
It's the right thing to do. This is my Beecher's Brook.
And
there's a fence there. I've got to clear it. If I don't clear it, then life will change.
I'm sure it will. You've obviously not been as involved in the national UKIP campaign as you would have been if you'd chosen even maybe a more UKIP-friendly seat. Do you think that's going to cause the party wider issues about getting that vote share higher?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was in Clacton yesterday morning, and I was in Thurrock at a very big public meeting last night, and I've been travelling. Well, I was in Hayward and Middleton the week before that. I mean, I'm travelling around, but yeah, I mean, clearly I've got to fight this seat. This seat's important, so I'm trying to balance the two.
So you've obviously been around. We haven't seen as much as of Douglas Carswell around in the campaign. Why do you think that is?
Well, he's been busy working on Clacton. That's his number one commitment, just as Mark Reckless is fighting hard in Rochester and Stroud. But you will see more of Douglas in the next 3 weeks.
Because you saw Mark Reckless appear at your campaign launch, but Douglas Carswell didn't.
No, but he's on Question Time tomorrow night. It wasn't our campaign launch, it was just a day unveiling a poster truck. I mean, we've done a few of those.
It's hard to keep track of them.
And I was with Douglas. And Douglas is coming down here in a couple of weeks to speak for me.
And have you spoken to him about after the HIV remarks that got the media into a flurry a few weeks ago?
Yeah, of course. He thinks we should have a national health service, not an international health service.
Does he agree with you on those comments about antiviral drugs?
I've just quoted him. what he said yesterday. We should have a national health service, not an international health service. And as Douglas said, if we were in Australia, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Normal countries do not open up their health services to people who fly in, who've never been to the country in their lives and have no link with it.
So obviously health tourism is a problem, but do you see why people got a bit wound up about that particular example?
Yes, but I don't think people understand that it was the Cameron government in 2012 that changed the rules so that people with no link with Britain could fly in, be tested and get drugs valued at over £20,000 a year. And frankly, at a time when you're saying to people, I'm sorry, we can't afford this cancer drug, I don't think that's acceptable.
So obviously you're hoping to win here. There's many other seats where UKIP aren't going to win. I'm sure even you would accept that. What would you say to those people? Do you think they should tactically vote UKIP supporters in seats?
Oh, I don't think UKIP voters are minded to vote very tactically, to be honest with you, because most of them have made the transition. They've come to UKIP already. But there will be tactical voting in this general election. Of course there will be. I very much hope there is, from our perspective, because clearly in those seats in the north of England, where we are the challenger to the Labour Party, I would want Conservatives to vote tactically for us.
Are there any situations where you'd want people to tactically vote Conservative?
No. I mean, there aren't. And actually, if you ask UKIP voters, if you ask UKIP voters who've come to UKIP from the Conservatives, which I hasten to add is a minority of our votes, but if you ask them about their attitudes and going back to the Conservative Party, it's a tiddly percentage that would even consider it.
And which, obviously, first.
And why would they? I mean, we've just seen the Conservative manifesto. The same pledges, the same promises as 5 years ago, all the things they failed to deliver. Why on earth would anybody want to go back?
Obviously, first past the post is not a system that does very well for you. Which electoral system do you think is the fairest? Well,
I've very rarely agreed with much that Roy Jenkins said in his career, but when we had the Jenkins Commission, which Blair set up to look at the future of politics in this country, and they concluded that the AV Plus system kept the benefit that the man or woman continues to represent Guildford and people know who the MP is, plus you have a second ballot paper whereby if you're if you're a high Tory living in Sheffield, it's still worth on a rainy Thursday evening going down, because at least your vote will count for something.
So in 25 days' time, you could be the MP for South Thanet, or you could be just Nigel Farage MEP. What's next, do you think? The Sunday Times reported that you might be looking at a television gig with Fox News. Is there any truth to that?
I've heard so many rumours. They said I would be moving to New York to work for Fox. And the Sunday People reported I was going to become a house husband. So, there's all these different views. Look, I don't want to appear to be overconfident, but I think we're going to win.
And the polls, obviously, you had the 11% Salvation poll. Then it's been looked a lot because it's still within the margin of error. And does it worry you at all?
Well, you spend your life worrying about things. You don't do anything, do you? No, I'm getting on fine in the campaign. I think we've got momentum behind the UKIP campaign, and I'm seeing it particularly with younger people who are quite excited about UKIP and about change.
Last thing, what do you think is the biggest problem you've got to face with your campaign here?
The biggest problem I've got to face is that there are still a large number of people who, whilst they believe in everything I'm trying to do, are slightly entrenched in their voting habits, and it's breaking that. Breaking that's important, but the real key is between 1 in 4 and 1 in 3 of the pledges we've had on the doorstep are from people who didn't vote in 2010, and in some cases haven't voted for 20 years, and in some cases have never voted in their lives. And the real challenge is getting them down to the polling station on Thursday the 7th of May. And
getting people to put posters up as well. A lot of people want posters, but some didn't want to get egged, they said.
Well, people are nervous, yes, and I mean, let's not pretend. There is a vitriolic campaign against me going on. Predominantly people bust in from outside, but there's been some very unpleasant things said and done here in the last few weeks.
And that's it for this mini election adventure. Join me again soon to find out how the election is being fought in a different part of the country. Find out more at minielection.co.uk.